He was signed by top clubs, partied with legends like, and had the body of a pro footballer. But there's just one problem. He never played a single real match. This is the unbelievable but true story of Carlos Kaiser, the greatest con man football has ever known. Carlos Henrique Raposo, born in 1963 in Rio de Janeiro, dreamed of football fame, but not by kicking a ball, it's by fooling everyone around it. As a teenager, Carlos had the perfect athlete's body, muscular, fast, and charming. But when it came to talent, he had none. So he made a different plan: become a footballer without ever playing football. Kaiser began by training with Botafogo, one of Brazil's big clubs. He made friends with real stars. Bebeto Renato. These friendships helped him get trials and contracts. Once signed, he'd fake muscle injuries within a week. Then he'd spend months collecting salaries without stepping on the pitch. Kaiser didn't just stop at faking injuries. He carried a fake cell phone. Back when phones were extremely rare in Brazil, he'd walk around the training ground pretending to talk to agents from Europe, making up deals that made clubs think he was in huge demand. At one point, a club even hired a translator for him, because he pretended to forget Portuguese after years in Europe. Carlos Kaiser's talent wasn't on the pitch, it was at the bar. He became a club favorite for organizing wild parties, bringing women, and keeping the locker room happy. Coaches saw him as good for morale. Teammates loved him. And fans didn't notice he never played, because he was always injured. Kaiser bounced between over a dozen clubs: Flamengo, Vasco, da Gama, Bangu, Fluminense, even clubs in Mexico and France. Every time, it was the same scam. Fake injuries, fake calls, real paycheck. At Bangu, he was nearly exposed, until he got into a fake fight with fans in the stands, just to get a red card before being subbed in. In the 1980s and early 90s, football wasn't as monitored as it is today. No internet, no fan forums, or match stats online. It was the perfect era for a con artist. And with real talent around him, no one paid too much attention. Coaches thought he was just unlucky. But behind the charm was a calculated lie, and no club ever looked into it deep enough. In 2011, long after he'd retired, Carlos Kaiser finally admitted everything. He laughed in interviews. He said, "I wanted to be a footballer, but I didn't like to play, just the lifestyle." He claimed it wasn't fraud, it was survival. And in a country like Brazil, where many die chasing the dream, he lived it, without kicking a single ball. Some call him a legend. Others call him a parasite. But one thing's for sure: Carlos Kaiser pulled off the greatest scam in football history. In a world full of corruption, injuries, pressure, and stress, he created a fantasy where he got the fame without the pain. In 2018, his story was even turned into a documentary. Kaiser, the greatest footballer never to play football. And in some twisted way, that made him unforgettable. What do you think? Is Carlos Kaiser a genius or a disgrace? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe Offside Stories for more unbelievable true stories from the world of football. And stay tuned, because next, we're diving into the heartbreaking story of Robert Ing, the German goalkeeper who smiled on the pitch and hid the deepest pain.